Sorry.
Hello, everybody. Hi. We're here with another YouTube Live. Really quick, we're just going to do introductions and talk about who we are. So we are College Advising Corps virtual advisors. The mission of College Advising Corps is to increase the number of low-income first-generation and underrepresented high school students who enter and complete higher education. So we'll do some intros first. Hi, my name is Rachel. I've done a few of these before, so if you've tuned in, you might recognize me. I'm a second-year advisor. I went to UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad, where I majored in psychology and gender studies, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I am Kiera. I also went to UNC for undergrad, and I'm also a second-year advisor as well. I majored in psychology with a minor in religious studies, and I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I am Kaya. I am a first-year e-advisor, and I also went to UNC Chapel Hill. I graduated in 2018, and I majored in global studies and anthropology, and I use she, her pronouns.
And before we sort of get into our content today, I just want to let you know, if you have any topics that you'd like to see us cover in any of these lives, please let us know in the comments. And we will listen to your feedback. Okay, so before we jump into talking about award letters, I really want to emphasize that if you have not yet, if you are eligible to submit the FAFSA and you have not done so, or the CSS profile, or any other financial aid profile that your state requires, Texas TAFSA, New York TAP, if you have not done that yet, you are not eligible to receive your full financial aid package from the schools that you've applied to. So please, please, please submit that FAFSA and the CSS profile to the schools that require it if you've not done so already. Also, secondly, check to make sure that you're not verified by FAFSA. If you've been selected for verification, which would be indicated by a little star or an asterisk at the end of your EFC, some of your schools might require additional information from you. For example, they might need a 1040 signed by a parent or guardian, or maybe W-2s from a parent as well. Schools need that before they're able to make a full financial aid package for you. So please be sure to also get that in. You can also see if a school requires that by 1, checking your email, 2, checking your student portals to see if they have anything that they need from you. All right, and I think that's it for my intro. So now we can get into award letters.
Perfect. So first, I will just be going over a brief general overview of award letters. But before we get into the fun stuff, first, I want to point out there is a difference between your acceptance letter with a scholarship offer and your award letter. So let's say you receive an acceptance letter and it's saying, hey, Kiera, you've been admitted to UNC Chapel Hill.
Congrats.
Congrats. And you also receive a $50,000 scholarship. That is going to be different from your actual award letter. So
Yes.
That scholarship will appear in your award letter, but that's not your actual financial aid package.
Exactly. Yes.
Great. So why are award letters important? They're important for affordability. So award letters allow you to see whether or not your college is going to be affordable for you and your family before you actually decide to attend. So of course, you have to make your final decision by May 1st. Ideally, you're supposed to get all of your award letters in before that date, just so all of that information can be factored into your actual decision. So now there may be 3 terms or 3 key terms that you'll see in your award letters. So you'll have your cost of attendance, you'll have your direct costs, and you'll have your indirect costs. So the cost of attendance is basically the total sum that it costs to attend your institution. So it includes, like we said, those direct and indirect costs, okay? And that includes tuition fees, books, travel, housing, meal plans, and personal costs. So diving further into the total cost of attendance, the direct and indirect costs. And I always like to use a metaphor for direct and indirect costs. So your direct costs will be comparable to a prom ticket. Let's say it's prom season. Everybody wants to go to prom, right? So in order for you to attend prom, you have to buy a prom ticket. So your direct costs are going to be comparable to that prom ticket. That includes your housing, your tuition and fees, and your room and board. Okay? Those 3 things. Anything else you want to add?
Meal plan as well.
Oh, yeah, meal plan as well. That includes your direct costs. And also a fee that can be tacked on to your, or actually I'll let you cover that.
Okay. Another example of something that could be a direct cost for you is health insurance. All colleges require that you have health insurance. And if you are not already covered under a parent or guardian, which you can take that health insurance with you to college, you just have to waive the health insurance that the school offers you. If you do not have health insurance, then you will have to pay for the school health insurance. That can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a year for school health insurance. So if you are paying health insurance to your school, it is a direct cost. But if you have health insurance and you're already covered, then that's not a direct cost for you because you get to waive that cost. So health insurance, it depends.
And second category, so we covered direct costs in terms of your cost of attendance. Now we're getting to the indirect costs. So that can be comparable to, let's say, a limo. Let's say you wanted to buy a dress or a tuxedo for prom, flowers for prom, corsage. Yep. Yeah. So indirect costs, you may or may not buy a limo for prom, just like you may or may not spend the indirect cost that's going to be listed in your financial aid award letter. Yep. So just keep that in mind. That can be transportation, it can be
transportation, books and supplies, personal expenses. For example, I had a student last year who got into a public in-state school that was about an hour from her home. They had listed $1,000 for transportation costs. And I said, okay, do you really think that you're going to spend $1,000 driving to and from this campus that's an hour away from you? And she was like, oh, probably not. So it's just an estimate that's based on how much students generally spend on that cost.
Yeah. Exactly. And the bottom line, the reason why we're talking about all this stuff is so that you can have an estimated a look at what your estimated bill will be like for the fall and spring semesters. This is the brunt of what your award letter is going to tell you. So it's basically in order for you to figure out what your estimated bill will look like. And the way that you calculate this is take all of your scholarships, grants, loans, and subtract that amount from your direct costs. So that's the amount that you're actually going to be billed for. That's the amount that you're going to see on your student account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And lastly, how to tell whether or not an award letter is a good offer or not is to refer back to your EFC. So your EFC is your expected family contribution, and this amount was calculated from the information that you put into your FAFSA. So it's the amount that your family is expected to contribute to your education. So let's say your EFC is 0, and let's say that UNC Chapel Hill has left you with a $50,000 estimated bill, which it wouldn't be the case. UNC usually does a great job with aid. Side note. But let's say that there's that $50,000 gap there. You could tell that that is not a good award letter just because there is a large gap between your EFC and what the award letter expects you to pay for college.
Okay, so I will get into award types. And so generally what we are going to be talking about are 2 types. It's going to be free money that you don't have to pay back, which is awesome, and then borrowed money. So first we'll talk about grants. So grants is money that you do not have to pay back. It is granted to you to use towards your education. And this is determined on financial need by FAFSA and the CSS profile. So another reason why you should submit those if necessary, is to get those grants. Mm-hmm. So the types that you could potentially get are the federal Pell grant. And so this is federal money awarded based on your family's income level. Mm-hmm. And it usually ranges from $0 to $6,195 a year. Mm-hmm. And then another one, the SEOG, Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, is an additional federal money given to students who demonstrate significant financial need. It's not given out to everybody, but for some students, they are awarded that. And that can be from $0 to $4,000 a year.
And that's on a sliding scale. So you can receive anywhere from none of it up to the full amount of $4,000. So you get $1,195, $2,000, $3,000, or the full $4,000.
Yeah. Okay. And then also other grants you can get from your college. Like you can have the UNC Chapel Hill grant for $18,000 or something. A lot of colleges and universities do have funding for institutional grants that you can receive in your award letter. Mm-hmm. And that is money that you do not have to pay. The university is giving it to you to use towards your education. So another type of free money is scholarships. So scholarships is money you don't have to pay back and is based on merit, depending on the type of scholarship. So there are college scholarships that you're awarded through your university or your college. Some are merit-based, some are need-based, and some of them have requirements tacked onto them, but that varies depending on institution. And then there are outside scholarships. So a lot of them are still open and still accepting applications. So definitely, if you have the time and you have submitted FAFSA and CSS profile, apply for scholarships and check out our last YouTube live where we focused on scholarships and how to apply and where to look and stuff like that, if you need another resource. So also understand that with scholarships, there's a chance of displacement. And what this means is that some schools will decrease the amount of aid they give you based on reported outside scholarships. But this might not be the case, but it can happen. So understand that if you win a huge, ginormous scholarship, some of your grants could be taken away in replace of that scholarship.
And this is only if you are receiving more money than is the total cost of attendance. That includes direct and indirect costs. You will only be impacted by scholarship displacement if you are receiving more than the total cost of attendance.
Yeah, because if you go like $5,000 or $6,000 over, they could allot that money to another student who needs it more than just giving you extra pocket money. So then other money that, you is borrowed money or that you have to work for, such as work studies. So we will talk about loans in a little bit, and we will break that down by detail. I promise they are not as scary as a lot of people think. And then federal work study. So federal work study is not guaranteed money right off the bat. This is money that you earn. Think of it as like a job that your campus is basically going to work with you to get you a job, essentially. And so this can help cover indirect costs. So you'll usually get a paycheck from the school, through the school, or through whatever they use. And you can use that basically as pocket money or anything. If you need books, if you need any supplies or anything, this is what this money can go towards. And so how do you do this? Different campuses have different ways of applying. I remember I had work study at UNC. And so I was just sent a email that basically gave me a portal where I went on, and then I could see all the jobs on campus that I could potentially apply to, what the requirements are. Is basically a huge database like Indeed.com or something with all the listings of the jobs that you could apply for, and then ways to apply and stuff like that. And so it might be online like that, but you might have to go in person. So make sure that you're looking out for emails. And if you do not receive like an email telling you how to go about this, make sure you know who to get in contact with. So just understand that work study, it's not money that is being given to you like right off the bat. It's money that you have to earn over the semester. So make sure you keep that in mind as you look at your award letters and know that sum of money will not be given to you immediately.
Yes. You will likely not receive a paycheck until a couple weeks into school. So not really a good idea to count on work study to pay for books, because you'll need those books for your first couple weeks classes. Okay, I'm going to start talking about loans. First of all, please ask any questions you have about loans. Second of all, just before I get into the different types of loans that students can take out to pay for college, I really just like to preface, student loans do not have to be scary. The reality is that a lot of students will have to take out loans to make college affordable, and that's okay. There are a lot of loans I feel like that are very normalized. For example, a mortgage is just a house loan. If you go to buy a car, you have a car payment, that's just a car loan. So student loans can be a reality. I do think that there is a good or healthy amount of student loans to take out, and then there is too much amount of student loans to take out. And so we will talk about that. Also, Shelby, thanks for asking a question. If you're offered work study in your financial aid package, is it guaranteed that you'll be able to get a position? No, work studies are not guaranteed. It is money that you have to earn that is not guaranteed. You do have that money allotted to you if you do get a work study position on campus, but you have to apply, and it's not a guarantee that you'll get it. So definitely treat it like a serious job interview. Okay, back to loans. Okay, so first of all, there's federal loans. The federal loans are loans that you qualify for if you complete and are eligible for the FAFSA. So basically, there's two types of federal loans that every single student, regardless of income, regardless of need-based aid status, every single student is eligible to receive up to $5,500 in loans. This is usually
for the first year.
For the first year, that's true. Every year it will increase. Because the cost of tuition increases every year. But okay, so the $5,500 that each student is eligible for, if you're eligible for the FAFSA, is broken between subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Everybody qualifies to receive an unsubsidized loan. If you receive a subsidized loan, that is need-based, right? And the difference is that a federal subsidized loan will not accumulate interest until 6 months after you graduate when you enter repayment for your loans. So let's say you take out a $5,000 subsidized loan your freshman year. When you graduate college, that loan will still be $5,000 because the government is paying the interest on it. Yeah, and so that's all about subsidized loans. Unsubsidized loans, it will start accumulating interest as soon as it hits your account. So as soon as you take it out. So for example, I only qualified for unsubsidized loans when I went to college. My $5,500 unsubsidized loan from my first year of college, by the time that I had graduated, had turned into $6,500 because $1,000 of interest had accumulated on it. Now, the one nice thing that I will say about federal loans is they do have an interest cap. I believe it's 3 to 8%, which means it cannot go over that percentage amount. So I will say that that is one of the protections or benefits of taking out a federal loan. Some other protections and benefits of federal loans are you have a 6-month grace period after you graduate. So let's say you enter college in fall of 2020. You will graduate in the spring of 2024, which I know seems like a really long way away, but it will happen. It does, yes. So if you graduate in 4 years, in May of 2024, you will have until November? Into when you enter repayment. Some loan companies will give you another month or two. It really just depends on your loan company that you have. But so you have that 6-month grace period where you do not have to start paying back your loans. Once you enter repayment, that is when your subsidized loan will start accumulating interest once you enter that repayment period. But another nice thing about federal loans is that you can enter income-based repayment. So income-based repayment basically means that you go to your loan company. Another thing to note about loans is that your federal loans will likely be through an outside company, such as Sallie Mae, Navient, and that's okay. You still have all the federal protections if it's a federal loan. If you decide to enter income-based repayment, you have to let your loan company know how much money it is that you are currently making, and then they will adjust your monthly payment based on how much money you're making. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm currently on income-based repayment. I graduated college, and honestly, my financial situation was a little weird throughout college, and I ended up with $32,000 in loans. And so I am not able to start repaying all of that at the moment. So it's really simple, logged onto my ancient FAFSA portal that I did not remember the login for.
Remember your login for your FAFSA.
You have to have that for years beyond college.
Yes, you do.
And I logged on and I just put in all of my information in, and they ran the numbers and they sent me an email, and I have a zero-based income repayment. That means, I'm still have interest that is accumulating on my loans. But 2 years out of college, I still have a zero-based income repayment. And hopefully we'll be able to, pay some more. But it might not be zero. It could be 50. It could be 100. Exactly. Mine was just zero when they ran the numbers.
Exactly. And just because your income-based repayment is at zero, that doesn't mean that you don't have to make payments on your loans. Yeah. And also, to address Erica's question, are you able to pay off an unsubsidized loan during your time in college? Yes. Yes, you are. You can actually make payments on both your subsidized and unsubsidized loans while you are in college as a student. That's something that I wish someone had told me when I was in undergrad, because I feel like if I had just paid like 5 or 20, because I had an undergraduate job, but I just used it on personal expenses. If I had known that I could have paid my loans off in undergraduate during my time as a student, I would not have had as much interest on my loans that accumulated at the end of college. And this is very important for one reason that I will elaborate on. It's called interest capitalization. So on your federal loans, what happens with your interest? That $5,500 loan I took out when I was a first year, that was then $6,500 with interest, right? After the grace period, when you enter repayment, all of the interest that is unpaid on your loans will capitalize and become the new principal balance of your loan. That interest will accumulate from that. So for example, if I had not paid off the interest, which luckily I was in a position to pay off a portion of the interest, my $5,500 loan that had 4.5% interest would have turned into $6,500. And then I would have started accumulating interest off of $6,500, which is more interest. So ultimately I would have paid more money. Anyways, I know that this is all really complicated and nitty gritty, so please ask questions if you have any. I know we have got a couple. So Ginny says, how do you tell schools about outside scholarships? Will it impact my financial aid package? Your scholarships can impact your financial aid package if you receive scholarships that total more than the cost of attendance. And most schools have an application or a form for you to fill out. It's going to depend on each school. So if you're unsure, please call the financial aid office. Because you should be reporting your outside scholarships that you receive if they are in a substantial amount. I mean, if you get like a small, like $100 scholarship from a local community center, I would not worry about that. But if you're receiving thousands of dollars from outside scholarships, your schools need to know. Also, Jebika said, just to clarify, when do subsidized loans start accumulating interest? Subsidized loans will start accumulating interest when you enter repayment 6 months after you graduate college is when subsidized loan starts accumulating interest.
It's usually the fall after you graduate.
Yep, fall after you graduate. Also, I'll read Shelby's comments. The 2 best practices I've learned. 1, whenever you're talking to any representative from a loan company, ask for their employee ID number to document the conversation for future reference. That's a good tip. And when possible, always make more than your minimum payment. I consider this when choosing what monthly payment option is most feasible for you post-graduation and with your grace period. If at all possible, if you make payments that are more than your monthly payment, because when you graduate, your monthly payments are automatically set up for you to have them paid off in 10 years. If you want to pay your loans off in more than 10 years, you'll want to pay more than the monthly payment each year. But anyways, yes, so that's all I have about loans. Now, that's all I have about the federal loans that are subsidized and unsubsidized that you as a student will take out and only your name will be on those loans. Okay, next, there's another type of federal loan called a Parent Plus loan. This is a loan that a parent or guardian has to co-sign. They also have to be approved, and this is based on the parent or guardian's credit score. So you can either be approved for that or you can not be approved for that amount. So make sure that it's not a guarantee. Make sure that you're not like banking on that, like, oh, I'll just take out a $50 or $5,000 Parent Plus loan. No, you really have to check to see if you'll be approved for it. Also talk with your parents and make sure that you know what they're comfortable with. Some parents are okay to take out more debt and some parents are not comfortable with that. So make sure you're having those conversations with your parents. And if you might not know how to talk to your parents, let us know and we can either be there to help facilitate the conversation or give you some tips on how to bring this up. Because I know talking about money can be a weird, complicated situation if you've never been in a situation like that before with parents. Are the federal grants and loans the same amount regardless of the college that you attend? Yes, the maximum Pell grant that a student can receive is $6,195, and the maximum amount of federal loans a student can take out for their freshman year of college is $5,500, and that is the same regardless of institution, regardless of state, regardless of public or private, nonprofit schools. For-profit is not the same. But yes, grants and loans are the same for all students as long as you're eligible to receive the FAFSA. Also, about the Parent Plus loan, there's not really like a maximum that you can take out. So you hypothetically could take out like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of loans in the Parent Plus loan. I would not recommend that. It's not a really good idea or feasible to pay back. But if you have a gap of maybe about $1,000 and you just can't come up with it, maybe a Parent Plus loan would be a good idea to talk to with a parent. And once again, Parent Plus loan will also likely be paid through a third party, such as Sallie Mae, Navient, a private loan company, right? Even though it's still technically a federal loan. Okay, the next type of loan that I'll talk about are private loans. So a private loan is a loan that you take out from a bank, such as Bank of America, Wells Fargo, BB&T, SunTrust, or a private loan that you take out from a loan company, such as Sallie Mae, Navient. They also offer loans that you can take out. You have to apply for them. So of course, they'll be checking your credit. So a lot of times, you as a high school senior might not have credit, and that's okay. I would say that that's normal. So sometimes banks do require a co-signer. So that would be a parent that has established credit. Once again, the amount that you take out has to be approved by the bank. And also it's based on, like I said, your credit. And also they have different benefits in terms of interest rates, repayment flexibility, and loan forgiveness. So for example, if you take out a private loan from a bank, they don't have to follow that. Interest rate has to stay between 3 to 8%. They might have higher rates for interest. They also don't have to follow income-based repayment after you graduate, right? So just be sure that you're really thinking about what are the rules for when I take out this loan after I graduate. How is this going to affect me? Mm-hmm. And lastly, university loans. So sometimes on your award letter, it might say like, UNC Chapel Hill loan. $8,000. So that's a loan that's not federal, it's not through the government, it's not through a bank, it's just through the university. So when you graduate, you will be paying your university back directly. University loans have different rules depending on the universities. From what I have seen, they have been most similar to federal loans. But once again, you're just going to have to check in with the university, like ask them, what's the interest rate? Can the interest rate change, or is it fixed? Yeah, sometimes interest rates, if it's a fixed interest rate, it won't change. If it's a variable interest rate, that means that it could change based on just whatever year it is and what the set average interest rate is. So yeah, just reach out to your university, and you may or may not receive a university loan. I would say university loans are rare, or you might get it, but it's not. You definitely will be offered the federal loan. Mm-hmm. And usually after that, they sometimes of them recommend a Parent Plus loan, and then some of them will have a university loan. So yeah, just make sure that you check to see what that interest rate is and if there's any special rules that apply to the university loan specifically. Okay, lastly, before we move on from what are the pros and cons between fixed and variable interest rates? A fixed interest rate, a pro, means that you always know what that interest rate is going to be. For example, I have a loan that's 3.5%. I know that that interest rate will always be 3.5%. So my loan will always, accumulate the same amount. Now, variable, one of the pros is that it could go up or down. So for example, if you take out a loan, it's 5%, maybe next year it'll go down to 4%, right? That's good. That means that your less interest is accumulating on it. A con would be that it could also increase. So maybe the year after that, it's 6%, which is higher than it originally was when you took it out. Yeah, so you just have to think all of my interest rates are fixed because I like the predictability. I like to know exactly what my payment's going to be each month and that it doesn't change. But that does mean that none of my loan interest rates can lower. Gosh, I know this is all really getting in the woods. So please let us know if you have any questions. It feels like a financial
also
class.
Keep in mind that your schools may offer what's called loan entrance counseling. So if you are unaware or unknowledgeable, about loans, just keep in mind that they'll have like links and videos for you to watch just so you can make yourself aware, so you'll feel more comfortable taking out those loans if you choose to do so.
Exactly. And that's my last point. You do not have to accept not only the full amount, or you don't have to accept your loans at all for college if that's an option for you. And also you don't have to take out the full amount of loans that are offered to you. For example, my sophomore year of college, I was offered another $5,500 for student loans. I only took out $3,500 because that was what was affordable for me and my family at the time. So you can choose to take out less. What I will say about this is that I would always choose first to take out from subsidized, because subsidized means no interest is accumulating when you're in college, before you dip into that unsubsidized loan. But anyways, yes, you can also, if you later realize that you don't need to take out loans or that you do need to take out more of your loan, you can visit your financial aid office and take out more of a loan at a later date, or adjust your loan amount. Now, if it's money that they've already given you, unless you pay that back immediately, I don't think that you can change that. But for example, if you take out, let's say $3,000 and then you get to campus and you're like, oh my gosh, I actually need another $1,000, go to your financial aid office and you can take out that additional $1,000 because it's still available to you. Whew, okay, that's it for loans. Please let us know if you have questions about loans. Now we're going to talk a little bit about comparing award letters. So when you get your award letters, they're all going to be in a different format, which can be a little bit frustrating. And they also all might have different wording or language around what we just talked about: federal loan, work study, university grant. They might have different words. So reach out to us. Show us your award letters. We have seen hundreds. Gosh, last year I saw 120 award letters just last year. We also have an award letter comparison spreadsheet that we can share with you. It's a Google spreadsheet. It's like Google Docs. You put in the information including the cost of attendance, direct and indirect, and then all of the both free money that you're receiving, that grant money, and also loans and work study that you're receiving. And it will auto calculate what your expected bill is at the bottom. So it's really a good way to compare all of your award letters in the same format. Definitely compare your award letters based on what your total yearly cost is going to be, not how much total money they're giving you in scholarships. For example, maybe a private school that costs $50,000 a year is giving you $30,000. $30,000 is amazing, but you still have to pay $20,000 to go to that school per year, versus maybe a public school in your state that costs $20,000 is only giving you $10,000, but your gap is only $10,000 as opposed to $20,000. So always think about it in terms of cost. Also, your award letter can change yearly because you will have to resubmit the FAFSA every year. And CSS profile only once, but you have to upload documents to iDoc every year. But keep in mind the cost of tuition will go up yearly. And so does the federal loan that you can take out based on that cost of tuition. Need-based aid will likely remain the same unless your family financial circumstance changes drastically. For example, let's say you win the lottery, or maybe a parent gets a job that didn't have a job before. That can affect your need-based aid. Your merit-based aid will likely renew, but it also likely has stipulations, such as you have to maintain a GPA over 3.5 or a 3.0 GPA. So just make sure you're in good standing with your university and with your scholarship for that merit-based aid to renew. And that's all I'm going to say about comparing award letters.
So I'm just going to touch a little bit on, okay, you have that gap, you know, you have a couple thousand or whatever that you need to fill. So how do you fill that little gap, and how do you pay for that last little gap if there's a gap between your gift aid and the total cost of attendance? So first, apply for outside scholarships on the local, state, and national level. Again, spring is the time for scholarships. While you're sitting waiting to hear back from schools, or you're still deciding, I highly recommend, look for scholarships while you can. Look for local scholarships, because, even if it's like $100, $200, those can add up, and those can actually really help take a little bit of that burden off and help lessen that gap. Also, state scholarships. See if there's scholarships specifically at the school that you're looking at that you can apply for. And then also national. I also just like to say, national, they are nationally recognized and they do have a lot of applicants. So, don't put all of your eggs in one basket and just think that you will most likely get awarded a national scholarship. Make sure that you're applying to local and state ones as well. Number 2, live at home if possible. This is kind of, it depends on your situation. It depends on where you live. Like somebody in New York City who, or in a city that has great transportation, you might be able to live at home and then commute to your college campus. That being said, if you're going across state lines or you're going across the country, you're going to have to live on campus. But if you can, and that is an option for you, and you live less than an hour away from your college campus and you can get there, and you are kind of struggling to try to find a way to lessen that gap, save money on housing. Because
I will say there are pros and cons about living at home. Studies do show that students feel more of a sense of community on campus if they live on campus their freshman year. Definitely take into account how will commuting be? Are you going to get drained emotionally, financially, cost of gas? And also, will you be able to participate in maybe clubs or activities on campus if you are commuting? So just put a lot of thought into living at home versus moving on campus, but it is a way to save money on housing.
If that works for you, that is a great way to save money. But if you're looking for that community, there are other ways that I'm going to list that that you can definitely work around. So number 3, renting textbooks or buying used textbooks. I made the mistake my freshman year of going straight into UNC student stores and bought every single book new.
Brand new.
I spent $1,100 on my textbooks.
In one semester?
In one semester. Well,
$500 for me.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I will say I was taking language courses and chemistry courses, and those books cost a lot of money.
They do.
And then my next semester, I used Amazon rental, Barnes & Noble rental, Chegg.
Yeah.
I looked on UNC had a Facebook page where people were just selling their books for like $5 to $20.
Yep.
And they only spent $400 on textbooks. And also, I do also make sure you can see if a book is required for a course, because if it's just recommended and you don't use it, I don't condone not getting a book. But, if it's just a recommended reading, that means you don't have to purchase that book.
And even your library may have PDF versions of books where you don't necessarily have to purchase them. So just be on the lookout for those.
Or if your library has a physical copy of a book and a scanner,
there you go.
I'm not saying anything, but you are at college. You are a smart student.
But yeah, I highly recommend, I see a lot of award letters where they're allotting like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for books. And I usually tell my student, you will probably, if you are smart about it, not spend that much on your books. So just be smart about that. Be smart about where you get it. Make sure you get the right edition whenever you're looking for books, because they come out with new editions for
every year.
Books every year. So yes. So that can also lower your indirect costs. So another one is get a part-time job while you're going to school if possible. I had many part-time jobs while going to school. I know Rachel did. Did you have one? Yeah. So
y'all had jobs.
Definitely don't overdo it, but that is something, earn a little bit of additional cash. And also resume building, while you're working in college, it's a great thing you can put on your resume. And use your discretion based on where you live and what you want to do and what works for your schedule. And another thing is also look at other schools with a better financial aid award letter. If you have two schools and you really want to go to this one, but there is like a $20,000 gap, think about, you really might just have to sit down and really think about what your future will look like. Do you really want to leave college with like $100,000 in debt? Or do you want to go to a school that will give you a great education as well, but will give you
less debt,
much less debt?
Yeah.
And that's nothing that we ever want our students to see go through, but that is a decision that you will have to sit down with yourself, and talk to your advisor if you were in that situation. Reach out to them and be like, I'm really stressing about this. What should I actually look at this school or should I not? So, just being smart about, how you're thinking about your future and what you will owe. Yeah. Another thing you can do is once you're on campus, is talk with your financial aid officer, or even before you get to campus, to see if there's anything they can do. And so this kind of leads me into appeals. So appeals are very tricky. And only offered and usually in extenuating circumstances.
Let's talk about what an appeal is.
So an appeal is basically if you got your financial aid award letter, it is just not feasible at all. Mm-hmm. And so basically what you will do, it's a process where you basically tell the school, I want you guys to basically review this again and see if there's anything you can do, because my EFC was 0, but there's a $20,000 gap. So you're basically asking them to review it again, and potentially
you do this in the form of a letter.
Yes,
you'll write a letter.
So you will write a formal letter,
or the school may have an official appeals process. Yeah. It just varies, so just double check that.
That's true.
Yes,
that's very true.
So and private schools with need-based aid are usually a little better with appeals because they have those private funds that they can tap into.
They have the endowment.
So how, again, explain your circumstances in a letter or through the whatever portal that they have. And usually these circumstances could be, but not limited to, like a parent lost a job,
medical
or debt,
medical expenses, death of a parent, so you will no longer have that income. And also use exact specific numbers if you can, such as this is my family's total cost of how much it costs to live wherever we are. This is how much money you're giving me, and here's our gap. And so here's how much I'm asking for more that we can make it affordable.
Yeah, and so great examples of online financial aid appeals. Check out College Essay Guy. He's a wonderful guy who just gives a bunch of free, awesome knowledge on a lot of things college related.
Yep.
So you can see examples of letters written or circumstances where appeals have been awarded.
Yes.
But again, this is to say, if your EFC was $3,000 and you have a $7,000 gap and you're just, I want more money, that appeal might not work. Again, they can't offer everybody.
If a school does not meet 100% of need-based aid, you might have a larger gap between your EFC and your total cost of attendance.
Yes. That's not to say that you can't reach out and see hey, is there anything you can do? But the chances of you winning that appeal is not likely. So make sure that you approach appeals in a very,
humble
manner.
That's right. And also grateful that you've been accepted to this institution, and remind them I really, really want to go here. And so this is why I'm asking for this money.
But yeah, so if you are in a situation that you need to appeal, definitely look into that ASAP and get that process rolling. because it can be a timely process, but it could also be a quick process depending on the circumstance. But it could, especially with decision days coming May 1st, you want to have everything worked out before then. But yeah, also a way to avoid appeals is, if it's something you can control, is submit your FAFSA and CSS profile so you get the maximum amount of aid. Submit it now. Deadlines are have passed, or are coming up. So get those in. Yep.
Exactly. So along the same vein of appeals, it's a great time to talk about self-advocacy. So I know it can be kind of scary to kind of advocate for yourself, and like asking for more money from a school may seem like a scary thing, especially coming out of high school. Yeah. But just know that your financial aid office, the scholarship office, the cashier's office, all of those offices are available to help you. So please reach out to them if you have questions. Feel free to call, email. Sometimes calling is the best method to get some direct information if you're in need of that. So
quickest way.
Yeah, quickest way. Self-advocacy, can't speak today, is key.
It really is. And quick question from Shelby: how much of a gap is too much if it's your dream school? That is going to be largely dependent on your personal and also family financial circumstances. I think.
My dream school, I had a gap of $28,000
a year.
But I also had an EFC of 0. So again, I did not get my stuff in.
No.
So again, $28,000 was not feasible for my family. So I had to let my dream school go.
Again, you have to look at that gap over 4 years. 4 years. So your financial aid is probably going to be pretty standard across the 4 years. So if you have a $20,000 gap, that $20,000 is going to turn into $80,000 by the time that you graduate.
In fact, it might even be $85,000 because the cost of attendance goes up each year. I largely recommend my students that if they can go to college and graduate with the average student loan debt, which is around $30,000 to $32,000 in total, and that's your total after 4 years of college amount of loans, I would say that is an okay amount to take out each year. So that would be about
5 to 10.
5 to 10, 10 being a little on the high end per year. If it's more than a $10,000 gap, and that includes loans. Loans you have to repay, right? I would hesitate against recommending a school that's that expensive, just because you would graduate with a lot of debt, and you really, I feel like, want to keep your debt under 50 to 40. But it also depends on, number one, what field you're going into and how much money you're going to be making upon graduation. For example, one website, collegescorecard.org, you can actually look and see what is the average salary that a graduate from this college is making, I think 6 years post-grad, so post-graduation. And so if their average is like $90,000 a year, which I believe Harvard's is, I think they're the highest, of schools that I've seen, then maybe taking on more debt would be a little bit more feasible for you. If you know that you're going into engineering or another high-paying field after graduation, then maybe it's okay to take out $10,000 a year and graduate with $40,000 of debt, because you know that you'll be able to repay that. If you know that you want to pursue another degree after your bachelor's degree, so you want to go to med school, you want to go to law school, you want to get a master's or a PhD, or any type of like a degree, I would say taking out more than $30,000 to $40,000 for undergrad is not feasible, because you will unless you're applying to a program that's fully funded, you will likely be taking on more debt for your graduate degree. I know of students who are either current law students or current med students or have graduated from law school that have hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. So you really don't want to add on another $50,000 from undergrad onto that type of debt. But once again, it's up to your personal choice, right? I don't know. What would y'all say?
I mean, I really say it's up to you. If your gut is really just, it's that school or no school, I mean, that's up to you. And if you understand what you are taking on and you understand the financial repercussions and what that will mean after college and you're ready to take that on, then sure, go for it. If that's really what you want to do.
But also ask yourself, why is this my dream school? Because you only applied to, between 5 to 20 or more schools in the whole country. And there's hundreds of colleges in the United States. So I feel like of the schools that you applied to, I would hope that you would want to go to them. So yeah, ask yourself really why is this my dream school? Why is this my number one?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to reshift and reframe. If you do have a large gap with your dream school, don't be afraid to say, hey, maybe I need to kind of see where my values align with this school and where I can find that in other schools.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that's all the content that we have for today. So we'll stay on the line for just a little bit for if anyone has any more questions. And this can be any type of question about an award letter, scholarships, grants, FAFSA, CSS, loans, anything like that. So we'll stay on for a little bit. What do you suggest using financial aid packages from other schools as leverage to negotiate for more? Yes, Shelby, I'm so glad that you brought that up. You can do that in an aid award package. So yes, for example, if if a school is offering you $1,000 more, let's say I got into, North Carolina State University, and they're giving me $10,000 in scholarships. And then I got into UNC Chapel Hill, and they're only giving me $5,000 in scholarships. In an award letter, in an appeal, I could say to UNC, this other school is giving me this much money, but you're my first choice, and I really want to go to you, if that's the case. So you definitely can use that as leverage. Schools, there's no guarantee that they're going to match that or reach it, but if a school knows that you really want to go to their institution and another school is offering you more money, they might be able to offer you some more money. But once again, this really depends on the school and the type of aid that they're able to award you.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did not do that. God, I didn't know anything when I was applying to college. I signed my loans and I was like, yep, this is it.
It was now
and didn't think about it for 4 years.
6 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Gosh, my one last tip I would say about, if you take out loans to pay for college, I didn't even set up my loan portal until my last semester of college. So I highly recommend that you set up your portals. You can look at your loans. I can log on to Navient right now and with my username and my password that I created my last semester of college, see exactly what my interest rates are, what are my loans, what's my monthly repayment, when will I have it paid off, and I would highly recommend doing that. I may have missed this, but do you advise parents taking out a Parent Plus loan? We did talk about Parents Plus loans. Once again, I think this strongly depends on the parent's financial circumstance. That has a lot to do with how much money the parent is making, how much debt the parent is currently in, and whether or not they're able to take on more debt for their student. Because if the student is unable to make payments on the Parent Plus loan, that burden will fall onto the parent because the parent co-signed the loan. So once again, really depends on your financial circumstances. And I would largely suggest not taking out Parent Plus loans in greater quantities of $5,000 to $10,000 per year, just because that's usually Parent Plus loans on top of your already federal loans. So yeah, I would not recommend taking out an inordinate amount of Parent Plus loans. Will we get financial aid award letters from every school we are accepted to?
If you submit your FAFSA.
Yes, you will receive an award letter actually, regardless of whether or not you submit financial aid profiles, but you likely will not receive financial aid. So that means you won't get grants, scholarships, or need-based aid if a school doesn't have your financial information.
Right. So expect your financial aid award letter. It could take a couple of weeks. So once they accept you, then all of your information is then given to the financial aid office, and then they have to input numbers, see what money they have, and then basically input it, and they'll spit out basically what they can give you, and then they will send that to you either through the mail or usually nowadays it's probably through an email student portal.
Yes.
So also I've also had a question from some of my students when they send you an email with a portal. That does not mean you're committing to the school. That's just where you sign on to either see what your financial aid award letter is, and then if you do decide to accept and commit to that school, that's where you can do that.
Exactly.
But receiving that does not mean if you log in, you are going to that school. That's just where you receive all the information about financial aid award letters.
Also, sometimes the school needs additional information from you, and you won't be able to see that unless you go onto your portal. So yes, that's not accepting your admissions decision. You will do that in the portal that they give you. If you decide to go to that school.
By May 1st.
Yeah. But also understand that whenever you do decide to commit to a school, usually schools have a deposit that you have to pay to secure your spot,
your seat. It's usually a few $100s.
Yeah. And once you are locked in, that's it. You're going there.
What I will say about this, if a school perhaps waitlists you and they're your number, let's say you're waitlisted at Columbia, right? But you're you know what, I have to make a decision by May 1st, and Columbia is not going to tell me about my decision until June, right? So you commit to a school, you pay the deposit. Let's say in June, you get accepted to Columbia and you get a full ride. You can, in this situation, withdraw your admission from the school that you committed to and commit to Columbia, but you will lose your deposit money. So that's the whole reason why schools have students pay a deposit. But yes, thank you all so much for attending. Oh, can you ask the college if they can waive your deposit if you can't afford to pay it? Yes, yes, you absolutely can.
Self-advocacy.
Self-advocacy.
Contact that financial aid office, call them, speak to a representative, and just explain your situation.
Yeah, remember, they're people just like you, so it would not hurt to ask.
Absolutely. The worst thing that they can say is no, but they're not going to take away your admissions decision.
They will most likely work with you to figure out ways for you to afford your deposit.
Absolutely. For example, if you are going to a school that does cost a lot of money and they're giving you a full ride or they're giving you lots of scholarships and grants, you won't have access to that money until August when classes start. And so if you are receiving all of that, yes, a lot of times schools will waive a fee for students that are receiving a large amount of need-based aid. Not all the time, but it's worth asking. Some colleges I applied to will announce decisions on April 1st. Will award letters arrive in time for me to make a good decision? They should. You should get your award letter in April. Specifically for the schools who make decisions on April, I feel like you get your award letters sooner in that regular decision deadline. But this does depend on whether or not the school has everything they need from you. Do they have the FAFSA? Do they have the CSS profile if they need it? If they need the CSS profile, have you uploaded all of the documents into IDoc, the 1040 that's signed, W-2s, any schedules, any of those documents that have to be uploaded? As long as they have all of that, which you can confirm with them by calling the financial aid office. If they need anything else from you, they'll likely let you know then you should get your award letter within, I'd say, 1 to 2 weeks. Because schools know that you need your award letter to make a decision. Okay, do I need to apply to my state financial aid before I can receive award letters to public colleges within my state? What state is this, Samantha, if you do not mind me asking? If you do not want to say that, I will answer the question regardless. You don't have to apply to state financial aid, but for example, if you're in New York and you want to receive TAP, which is sort of like the Pell Grant, only it's only for New York students. TAP might be on your award letter from the school. Like it might say, oh, you'll receive $3,000 from TAP. But if you don't actually submit TAP, then you're not getting that $3,000. So you do need to submit it, but a school will likely still give you an award letter. Oh, it is New York. Oh, good. Okay. I'm so happy. Yes. Well, you should submit TAP. Also for TAP specifically, I believe it asks what college you're attending. You can just list one of the colleges that you've either been accepted to or the college that's your top choice, and you can go back and change that later. Also, if you connect TAP to FAFSA, it's super easy and really quick to submit. So yeah, I would go ahead and submit that because Samantha, on your award letters, it likely will have your TAP estimate is what it says. It'll say TAP estimate, and then it'll say like whatever, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. But if you don't get that confirmation from TAP directly after you submit it, you will not receive that money. Also, there was an example I had a student last year in New York. On her financial aid packages from her New York schools, it said she was estimated to receive about $2,000 from TAP. On her TAP return, it says she was only eligible to receive about $500. So then she had to get in contact with TAP. She had to go to the offices and work out all this stuff. That they basically there was either a mistake either on their end or on her end. I can't remember what it was. But yes, so that number could be different. So do submit that as soon as possible. But okay, if we have no more questions, thank you all so much for joining us. If you have any more questions, please let us know in the comments or reach out to your advisor. Any last words of wisdom?
Reach out to your advisor about your financial aid award letters if you need help looking through them. We are experts.
We're here.
We're here.
That's right. All right. Thank you all so much. Bye.